afternoon, everyone. Okay, first of all, I have to explain this to you all. My background is youth, recreation, and coaching. So when I say good afternoon, I have to have a much better response than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. On behalf of the City of Jackson, the Jackson City Council, we welcome you to the third annual State of the City address. I was very excited to get here in my preparations, got ready. My wife made a nice meal for me. We hurried over, but on my way to the theater, I bumped into a genie. I know you don't believe it, but I bumped into a genie. Genie got out of the truck, and I realized I bumped into a genie, so I must have set him free. Said, okay, I've got 3 wishes. Genie says, no, I'm a truck genie. Those are the bottle genies. You get 1 wish. So I tell the genie, okay, I'm thinking about the weather outside. My family, my wife, mother, my 10 kids has always wanted to go to Hawaii. Anybody that knows me, you know I am terrified of flying. So I talked to the genie. I said, listen, I need you to build a highway that goes from Jackson to Hawaii. 4,356 miles, nothing major. The genie is like, are you crazy? Do you understand the amount of concrete and asphalt that would take? Put sink piles in the ocean, do you understand what that would be? Is that the best way? I said, okay. So I thought about it. I get 1 wish. I said, I'm headed over to Michigan Theater. I have to give a speech tonight. Tell me the one thing that I can say that will make everybody in Jackson happy and satisfied. The genie thought about it again. The genie says, okay, this highway, you're talking 1 lane or 2 lanes? Welcome to the State of the City annual address. What I'm going to do tonight, so you don't have to hear the rest of my jokes and everything tonight, I'm going to tell you the order of the program. At that time, each speaker will come forward. Without further ado, we will have Pastor T. Corey Pryor first, who will come forward and do the invocation, immediately followed by City Council member Kelsey Heck from Jackson's 5th Ward. Following Mrs. Heck will be our guest speaker, Ken Toll, President and CEO of the United Way of Jackson County. After that, we will hear from our mayor, the Honorable Mayor Derek Dobies. That's it for our evening. Thank you for coming. We hope you all enjoy what we have prepared for you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the opportunity. I do not take this lightly. I consider this a privilege and an honor. If you are physically able, I'm going to ask that you do stand. If you're not, please be seated and just bow your heads. But if you are physically able, please stand and prepare your hearts and your minds as I approach the throne of grace. Our Father, our God, our Lord of many faiths, cultures, languages, and beliefs, we stand before you today, recognizing you as the creator of all, the sustainer of all, and the lover of all mankind. We thank you today for life, health, and strength. We thank you for sustenance and protection and shelter. We thank you for friendships and acquaintances and associations and relationships that have yet to come to fruition. Lord, I pray that you cover our blessed home of Jackson, Michigan, and we, the citizens that live therein. Lord, please watch over the families that have an abundance and the families that agonize and lack, and those families that fall in between. Lord, I pray that you comfort those who have suffered loss by way of nature and those who have suffered loss by way of tragedy. And let us be mindful not to take this life for granted, but Lord, teach us that life is much like a vapor that is here one moment and then gone the next. God, we need you today more than we've ever needed you before. Your word tells us that your thoughts are not our thoughts and your ways are not our ways, and as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are your ways higher than our ways and your thoughts higher than our thoughts. So we boldly ask you to reveal your thoughts to us for our dear city this evening. Let our ways be aligned with your ways and our future undertakings. And Lord, we recognize that our cities, our neighborhoods, are sacred places where your children of all ages prosper and struggle They love and sacrifice. They delight and suffer. Help us to notice how you work among us in all of these moments of human frailty. Help us, Lord, to act like you act. So tonight I stand asking that you guide Mayor Dobies and the city managers and the councilmen and women, our community leaders, great and small. Let our efforts be kingdom motivated and spirit led. I ask that you fill our hearts with what is right and true for the good of our city, and give us the desire to make our home here on your good world a community of togetherness, such that you might recognize it as truly your home as well. Well, Father, I thank you, and I have confidence that you have heard me this evening, and I thank you for taking time to listen. So I ask one more thing, and that is that you bless the continuance of this evening's gathering, and let every speaker be blessed of you. And we ask these blessings assured of your love and care for us, in your Son's name, amen. You may be seated.
Hello. Thank you to Steve Tucker and the Michigan Theater for opening your doors to the city once again. If I were you, Steve, I'd start screening Mayor Dobies' calls. I want to talk about how I've grown with the city over the last 5 years, and my favorite thing about Jackson, that there is always potential. There is always another chance to succeed. I lived in income-based housing the first year I was here. I'd moved for a short-term job that had ended. I was waiting tables and figuring things out like many people in their mid-20s. And I lived at Mechanic Street Lofts. I had an easy out. I could have moved to Lansing or Ann Arbor or Detroit. But I got here during the summer of Dig Downtown Jackson. My first stop downtown was Chilongo's for lunch, and I had to step around piles of dirt in the middle of Michigan Avenue to cross the street. That fall, when the roads were paved and the street trees were all lit up with the twinkly lights, I could feel something. I felt that if I could stay in Jackson, I would be witness to a city rebuilding and reinventing itself, and I wanted to be around for that. Downtown. Welcome to downtown. The way this part of the city is spoken about can differ pretty drastically, and we've all heard the worst of it. It's dangerous, it's dirty, it's where the homeless people live, it's hard to do business there, and in a lot of ways, some of that stuff is true. Many of the poorest residents of our city do live in the Fifth Ward, and many people experiencing homelessness do exist in our city, and they live in our public spaces. And we do face the challenge of gun violence, especially in part of the city where many residents are vulnerable because of poverty rates. And yes, the city has implemented high standards for businesses opening downtown. But as with almost everything else in life, a little time can change a lot. In the years since the Dig Downtown project, we've seen most of the downtown streets redone. Projects like Bright Walls, the YMCA Capital Campaign, the Jackson School of the Arts moving into the Masonic Temple. It seems like a new restaurant opens up every month. You can throw axes and play arcade games while you drink, and there are multiple buildings going up right now that will add hundreds of residents to our community. And yet, for as much success as we've seen, there is always more work to be done. Too many people in our city don't have safe, sustainable, affordable housing. Mayor Dobies will highlight some of the residential projects that are underway, and many of those projects are income-based, which is a good start. I'm hopeful that the way we speak about housing is evolving, that everyone deserves to feel safe and dignified in the place they call home, whether your home is Reed Manor or the Blake Building, and that we will be less judgmental about what low-income or income-based housing means, and use a housing-first lens to inform the types of projects the city supports and encourages. We have to do more about preventing gun violence. City Council approved the Cure Violence program last fall, and that's a great first step. I've heard stories that years ago, there were summer service programs for kids to teach job skills and help them earn some money. Many of those programs were resourced with state and federal dollars, and when that money dried up, so did the programs. And a decade later, Where are those opportunities for teens in the city? I'm still looking to see the group violence intervention program implemented in Jackson to give our law enforcement officers an additional tool and perspective to get our arms around this issue. The city budget can't sustain this all, and this is where we need to be able to lean on our community and business partners to help shape the narrative of downtown. I am aware of how rare and important this opportunity is to serve and grow alongside the city where I've decided to put down my roots, to hold a position of power. But I know that the power isn't mine. I am a steward of this seat, and that truth is with me with every difficult vote that I take. This job would be so much easier if our leaders had passed a road funding millage 30 years ago, or replaced all the lead lines, or found the funds to keep summer service programs. Anything. I'm acutely aware that the decisions I make will affect the family I will be raising here in the future. What will people say about downtown Jackson in 15 years? Lucky for us, we can start telling that story today. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thanks. I'd like to thank the Mayor Dobies and the City Council for the opportunity to speak tonight as part of State of the City. My story goes back a little bit farther than Council Members Heck's. I grew up just a few blocks from here. I learned how to walk and talk and ride a bike at 906 South Jackson Street, just south of Morrell. It was a different neighborhood back then. Certainly had its challenges, but I had a lot of fond memories of walking down to this theater on Saturday afternoon and watching Disney double features with my friends. After college, my wife and I came back to Jackson. We bought a house on Burr Street, where I still live with my amazing wife, Betty, and where we raised our 3 kids. So in short, Jackson is my home. I'm proud to live here, and I'm really proud to be part of tonight's event. And I apologize for going slightly over my 10-minute allocation, Mr. Mayor, but I got a lot to say tonight, so probably go 12. So Mayor will be speaking to you about the state of the city. I'm here tonight to talk about the state of 63% of the city. That's the number of households right here in Jackson that are either in poverty or struggling to make ends meet. More than 6 out of every 10 residents in the city don't make enough to make ends meet. Now, I could describe their state in my words, but I think it's better to speak in their words. Here's what one resident said. Living in poverty is like being punched in the face over and over on a daily basis. It's pulling yourself out of a hole only to fall over a cliff. Another said, we're told if you work hard, you'll get results. But for my family, there haven't been any results, only survival. Still another said, I sit here now writing at this desk that is piled with overdue utility bills and a statement from my landlord telling me that they are pursuing legal action against us because our rent is currently 17 days late. The future is more uncertain than ever. These are real statements from Jackson residents. We gathered them from community conversations led by our friends at the Nonprofit Network some years ago to inform our work. It's easy to get defensive when we hear these words, but let's not do that tonight. We're not here to criticize Jackson. We're here to acknowledge a tough reality. We're also here to acknowledge Jackson's long and proud history of taking tough realities and turning them into better, brighter futures. There's a reason why our solutions are homegrown. There's no cavalry coming to change our current reality. No state or federal magic is on its way. No genies in the truck coming to build our highways, right? It's up to us. Over the next few minutes, I'll talk about United Way's focus on fighting poverty and how we're working alongside our many partners, including the City of Jackson, to help people achieve financial self-sufficiency. I'll also talk about some of the new work we're embarking on, and I'll finish with some thoughts on how each one of you can step up and help make a difference. 4 years ago, this United Way took a hard look at our community impact. At the time, we were, as the old saying goes, a mile wide and an inch deep. We were doing a lot of great things, but we weren't deep enough in any one area to drive meaningful, lasting change. We also recognize the common thread running through every major social issue in Jackson County, which is financial instability. It includes people in poverty, and it also includes what we call ALICE, which stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. ALICE encompasses hardworking people who are barely getting by. All it takes is one unexpected event, a sick child, a broken fan belt, a busted furnace, and an ALICE family slides into poverty. It's so simple to slide into poverty, but it's extremely difficult to climb back out once you're there. In Jackson County, more than 4 in every 10 households are either in poverty or ALICE. Our United Way serves the entire county, but we also know the city of Jackson is its heartbeat. That's why we're so proud to work alongside the mayor, the council, and staff to tackle financial instability here in Jackson. In 2016, we decided to make that our major focus. We were channeling all of our energies to fight poverty and helping ALICE. We set a bold goal of helping 5,000 Jackson County residents develop a pathway to financial stability by 2025. Here's a few examples of what we've done towards that end. We've shifted our partnerships and investments to emphasize impact on poverty and ALICE. In some cases, our partners were already doing that work. They just needed to tweak some of the reporting they were doing to assess how they were making an impact on poverty. In other ways, we had to create new partnerships, fund new programs, and take part in new ideas to make a big difference. For example, we look at energizing education, our early reading initiative, through the lens of how reading skills equip a child to succeed all the way through graduation and beyond, including getting that good paying career. The school to prison pipeline is a very real thing, and we know that literacy is the best way to interrupt that pipeline, which is something my good friend Thomas Burke reminds me of every time I see him. What's more, we're building on that energizing education experience to launch a new effort, which we call Staying in Closer Touch, that will be recording incarcerated parents reading children's books. That recording and book is then given to the inmate's child, which promotes reading, strengthens the parent-child connection, and reduces trauma, which we know has lifelong effects. We've structured our utility assistance program, made possible through support from the Michigan Energy Assistance Program and Consumers Energy, so that when people call for help to keep the lights on, we work with them to assess their other life needs, and then we connect them to a whole bunch of programs and services that will make a big impact. Another solid accomplishment is our business resource network called JobStar. We launched this effort 2 years ago. JobStar embeds a success coach at participating businesses, connecting employees to services and support programs so they can overcome whatever barriers are threatening their success on the job. Today, JobStar employs 2 success coaches, Scott Walker and Kristen Pryor. In 2019 alone, Scott and Kristen responded to 551 local employee requests, connecting those workers to 943 different services just in 1 year, from fixing broken cars to finding emergency childcare to keeping workers and their families from homelessness. We're incredibly grateful of the 13 companies that took the leap with us to start JobStar, as well as our founding partners, the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce, Michigan Works Southeast, Jackson County Department of Health and Human Services, and Family Service and Children's Aid. But let's think about this, for example. 551 local working people helped by JobStar. That's 551 people who have jobs, but who needed help getting basic needs: food, housing, medical care, transportation. When I was growing up a couple blocks from here, my dad was a teacher just starting in his career, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. We were a family of 4. We didn't drive new cars or take fancy vacations, but we always had enough to eat. We always had some fun along the way, and we always had hope things were getting better. Now, today, we have parents working 2 and sometimes 3 jobs, working long hours day in and day out, and not sure where they're going to be sleeping that night. The world is changing fast, and so too are we. But beyond new initiatives like these, United Way is also still in the business of investing dollars where they can have the most impact. Since our shift to focusing on poverty and ALICE just 4 years ago, we've invested $25,055,991 into programs here in the city, across Jackson County, and statewide with our utility assistance work. So these are just a few examples of where United Way is working hard to build a better, brighter reality for Jackson. So the big question is, how are we doing? The answer to that is mixed. United Way has issued 3 statewide ALICE reports since 2014, thanks to funding by Consumers Energy Foundation. In that time frame, poverty in Jackson County has dropped from 18 to 13%. That's good news, right? 5% drop is significant. The not so good news is the ALICE population grew from 23% to 29%. So the number of folks who aren't getting by actually increased 1% if you do that math. Not all of that growth is due to people in poverty moving up the scale. Some folks have fallen from financial stability back down into ALICE. But what it means is there's more people in Jackson County living paycheck to paycheck, just one crisis away from poverty. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, black or white, ALICE is growing across every single age group, every single demographic group in this community. So clearly, we still have a lot of work to do. And that's where we get to the secret sauce that makes Jackson such a great community. Earlier, I talked about Jackson's legacy of making tough realities better. We do that when we collaborate. Jackson needs new economic systems, new relationships and partnerships, new ways of thinking and doing. Solving poverty, lifting Alice up, that's not United Way's job alone. We all must own it. And so I'd like to give a big thanks to Mayor Dobies, who's doing exactly that through his formation of a Poverty Council. He has assembled a group of leaders from the Financial Stability Network to advise the city and represent the interests of those struggling households whenever the city is considering new policies or projects. The city of Jackson is listening, and that's how great collaborations begin. Collaborations like JobStar and the Financial Stability Network and the Poverty Council are all examples of Jackson owning the tough reality we face today. So is our work with organized labor. One of the key historic drivers of Jackson's economic success is organized labor. United Way's new labor liaison, Colleen Sullivan, I think I can still call her new, she's been on the job a few months, is helping us identify more needs and opportunities for Jackson County's workers. We're seeing a lot of progress there. Last fall, when the GM strike threatened to tear through Jackson's economy, we established a rapid response fund to assist displaced workers. And the new Unity mentorship effort, which Colleen is leading, is introducing young people to career opportunities in the skilled trades, which is a tremendous need here in Jackson County and beyond, because those jobs pay enough so that those families can fully support themselves by working just 40 hours a week. But there's much more we can do. I'd like to call on the mayor tonight to establish a responsible contractor policy and to enact a community benefits agreement. These two actions will help ensure that workers who are being paid with our public dollars are earning above ALICE wages, and that the business earning profits from our public dollars will contribute some back to benefit this community, like most of our local businesses here do. Likewise, collaboration is key in the Community Action Agency's efforts to create stable housing by holding landlords accountable for quality housing while aiding renters so they avoid eviction. That's another great collaboration between CA and the city and a lot of other partners. We're proud to be part of that engagement, and we know there's a lot more work to be done to ensure Jackson has enough safe and affordable housing for all. You're absolutely right, Councilmember Heck. Big need. Another very recent example of collaboration is our announcement last week with CP Federal Credit Union that brings a full suite of online financial education and planning tools to Jackson County residents for free. Powered by a company called Bonsai, this resource does everything from helping families build a spending plan to getting financial coaching. If you didn't catch the media coverage of this great tool, I encourage you to visit our website, www.uwjackson.org, and check it out. It's a fantastic product. So as we continue to build momentum, one area we know we need to focus on more than ever is equity. Financial instability affects every demographic, but communities of color face this challenge far more. Knowing this, United Way's new programs and initiatives are bringing real measures to make sure we're addressing disparities. In fact, we're driving this to the neighborhood level. We're now looking at doing targeted mini-grants that address hyper-local needs as identified by the people in those neighborhoods themselves. We know there's a lot of people out there who've been supporting their neighbors and improving their neighborhoods for a long time, and United Way is going to start pitching in. Equity also applies to people with criminal records. Nation Outside, a group led by formerly incarcerated people who are now building new systems to help returning citizens re-engage in society, is something we're involved in and very excited about. I'm humbled every time I meet with Nation Outside's leaders, and I continue to learn from their perspectives, patience, and amazing grace. United Way is also a partner in the Decriminalizing Poverty Action Team, which is promoting expungement, which removes certain nonviolent offenses from people's records so they can get jobs, support their families, and make a meaningful contribution to society. Because without expungement, a minor criminal offense becomes a lifetime sentence of unemployment, and that's not good for any of us. Thanks to our friends at Michigan Works and the Jackson District Library, we have new solutions that are getting hundreds of people back into the workforce through expungement. I could go on. There's actually a lot more going on, but I'm sure I'm over my 10 minutes. So I want to leave you with just a couple of thoughts. Novelist James Baldwin once wrote, "Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor." Baldwin's absolutely right. The material, emotional, and physical toll of poverty is huge, and many of our state and national policies are engineered to make it worse, not better. That toll, that expense, goes beyond the individual to the family and ultimately to our entire community, even the great city of Jackson. We need to change that reality, and we'll only do it when we work together. At United Way, United is in our name for a reason. We're not about politics, we're not about slick ads or social media grandstanding. We're about connecting our community for the common good. We're about making sure every person in Jackson County can succeed. That's our passion. We're all about building a better and brighter reality. Tonight, right here and right now, it's your invitation. I need you to be part of that work. We need you. Jackson needs you. Speak up, sign up, and pony up some resources. And let's start building that new reality together. I think the state of our city is bright indeed. Thank you.
I didn't anticipate to have so many powerful speakers precede me. That's amazing. Thank you, Pastor Pryor, for your words. Councilwoman Heck for your comments, and Ken for telling the story about some of the true challenges that we face here in the city. For sharing a vision of what a equitable city looks like, one that helps create opportunity for all. So excited to work with you in that space, and other nonprofit leaders on the Poverty Council with some of the challenges that we'll talk about here tonight, and I'm proud to call you a colleague and a friend. Thanks to Steve Tucker and the board here at the Michigan Theater for allowing us to host here tonight. It's the third time we've delivered a State of the City here in Jackson, and chose to do it here not only because of the beautiful facility that Steve and his team have helped to create, but because of their AV capabilities. And I'm the designated clicker here tonight, so bear with me if I get a little bit ahead of myself or behind myself. But there's literally so much going on in our community that we wanted to also select a location that allowed us to show off some of those projects that we're working on, and literally the vision of what the future of Jackson kind of looks like. So thank you, Steve, for helping to convey that vision here tonight. And in talking about those projects, I'd be remiss and likely in trouble if I didn't thank the one person who has served as a gut check on many of those projects, who was forced to hear about all this work, sometimes against her will. My high school sweetheart and wife, Danielle. Thank you. And I also want to thank some of the other people who are doing the work to make the visions that we'll see here tonight a reality. Our fearless Vice Mayor Arlene Robinson, thank you for continuing to do what you do. I'll remind everyone that last year we hosted the event at the MLK Center, and Arlene had shared some stories about riding her bike through the dirt at the MLK Center when it was being built. And now this fall, we'll join Vice Mayor Robinson in cutting ribbon and reopening the center after a $1.9 million renovation, and I think that stands as a testament to her resolve to deliver for the South Side. Can we get a round of applause for Arlene Robinson? Thank you. To my fellow council members, Councilmember Freddie Dancy, Jeremy Alexander, Laura Schlechte, who will count all of my faults in my speech here tonight and let me know how I did. Kelsey Heck and Councilmember Will Forgrave. In my tenure, I've served with 15 different individuals on the City Council. And in our public discussions over the last few weeks about water infrastructure, fairness, and equity, I tell you this, I'm truly excited for what we're going to be able to do together over the next 2 years. To work together to accomplish great things to move our city forward. We'll do it, albeit through some negativity, some doubters and naysayers, detractors, those who would rather city turn its back on the progress that we've been able to achieve to go back to the old status quo. Come what may, I think that this City Council is resolved to push forward, that each and every one of us understand what's important is not the quantity of our years served, but the quality of how we serve. Those tangible improvements that we can make in the lives of each and every one of us here in the city. And I want to pause for a second to put the spot on one of you guys in particular. Councilmember Heck, thank you for your words tonight. Since your time spent organizing and helping to pass the non-discrimination ordinance, you've been a leader in this city. You've helped lead the reinvigoration of downtown, bring to fruition innovative projects like the Needle Exchange program, secure violence initiatives, and have reconstituted our work in the housing space around what is safe, affordable, and dignified. As the city's first openly LGBTQ council member, you've blazed a trail for others to follow. Know that your courage is contagious for others. To the city treasurer, city clerk, city assessor, and the rest of the team that make nights like this possible, thank you. It's dedicated public servants like you who are doing the work to rebuild our city. It's not easy. At times, you may find those who demean and discredit that service. But there's no other team I'd rather be in the trenches with, and it's truly an honor to work alongside each and every one of you. So thank you. And a special thanks goes out to the man who has helped lead this team through Hellfire to bring the various projects, policies, and programs to fruition to help turn our city around. Patrick Birch, our city manager emeritus, who's with us here this evening. Pat and I both got to Jackson tad under a decade ago now, and it's no secret that while we've worked to change the city, it has also changed us, opening our eyes to some of the incredible and unfortunate challenges that our city faces, racism, discrimination, the abject poverty. We've observed the hardship and discrimination that has challenges us to re-educate ourselves, to develop the new perspective, understand our privileges, and toil in earnest to put that re-education into action. Under Pat's leadership, we've endeavored to rebuild a city in a way that's inclusive, cognizant of the institutional hurdles some face in participating in our city's renaissance, and in recognizing the disparities that exist in our city, both between black and white, rich and poor, and to work in earnest to address it. I know that Pat's decision to leave was a tough one. I watched the manifestation of his emotions for a number of days, and there's not a simple way to thank you for all the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into the city, Pat, other than to know that it will continue. Tonight, we thank you for your service to the city of Jackson. Can I get a round of applause for our city manager emeritus, Patrick Birch? And his lovely wife, Holly, who let him do all this stuff. Thank you, Holly. Look, we've made a lot of progress together. You can walk out of these doors here and see that progress continued. Last year, we broke ground on the 200, the new market rate housing development downtown. It's scheduled to be completed of fall this year, housing some 150 new residents in our downtown. Also scheduled for completion in fall is a $17 million Albert Kahn apartment complex, including commercial space and 73 low-income apartments with 1 and 2 bedroom units. This summer, we'll cut the ribbon and open the Francis Senior Lofts, a $9.5 million investment in our community. That's 45 units open to people 55 and older who make 80% of the area median income. We'll continue to support the rad conversion of Reed Manor into safe, open, and successful housing development with the support of Lori Ingram and the Jackson Housing Commission. The redesign plans for commercial space that will directly integrate healthcare, grocery, and other amenities to those right there who need them the most. And you'll see the new DeLand Point venture under construction. The $2.5 million development partnership between Jackson Habitat for Humanity, Community Action Agency, and the city will build 4 new houses, 10 townhouses for struggling families here in the city, the first of which is being built out this year. And we're going to continue to do things that make downtown a great place to live, work, and hang out. We've installed new outdoor fireplaces, renovated Emma P. Nichols Gardens downtown, and by fall, we should have the Kitchen Incubator project opened up as well. Jackson School of the Arts will be remodeling the Masonic Temple and locating even more activity in that facility. These place-making initiatives are creating a wealth of private activity downtown. Just in the last year, we've witnessed multiple businesses opening or expanding their doors. Think about it. Veritas Healthy's 101, Dunham's, Axplay, Quench, ChemDry, Tilted, Segway, Happy's Pizza, Jackson Candle Company, The Blessed Nest, Christoph, the Martini Spa and Lounge. It's just incredible the number of businesses that are opening up. And think of all the new businesses that are planned to open up this year. Metropolitan Ice Cream, Agma Brewing, The Pickle Barrel, and yes, Freddie Dancy, Popeyes. We have allowed 2 provisional licenses for 2 new multi-million-dollar medical marijuana establishments in the city. We believe this new industry, combined with a well-regulated market, creates an opportunity for a more stable and sustainable business climate and allows for the equitable redevelopment of urban cores like Jackson. That's exactly the approach that we've taken in constructing our regulatory environment here in the city, and we've incorporated our rigorous building design standards and other worker-oriented policies into scoring criteria that allows us to ensure that the new businesses and developments coming into our community are good for our community. With our high standards, we've ensured that these businesses will have clear span buildings with large amounts of fenestration, tree canopy, some are even going to have solar panel carports and other attractive design features on site. But they've also committed to paying their workers more than double the minimum wage, providing them with health care with no more than $1,000 out-of-pocket costs, 6% deferred comp for retirement, and those building their buildings will be paid 10% over Davis-Bacon wages. These are huge. These were conditions of our scoring criteria, and the commitments are huge wins for cities like Jackson. Jackson Public Schools is in the midst of their $87 million bond proposal in renovating schools across our city. The Jackson YMCA is raising millions of dollars to build a brand new state-of-the-art YMCA downtown and just received financial commitments from Consumers Energy and Henry Ford Allegiance Health that are their largest in corporate history. I think it's safe to say that people, organizations, and businesses are betting on Jackson. The city too. In the last 5 years, we've invested some $15 million in public resources into the downtown. Into the downtown, around the Washington and Louis Glick Loop that has attracted more than $100 million into the same area. Think of that for the city. That's essentially doubling our investment every year. That private investment reaps the city long-term benefits and increased property value, a broader tax base for income taxes, and a sense of place that attracts even more residents and businesses. And with all that investment, all these projects, the leadership of Patrick Birch, the City Council, the businesses, industry, and community activists, we've created momentum that I believe is unprecedented in recent history. Just in the 2019 calendar year, the city issued 627 building permits with an estimated construction value of $54 million. That's a 348% increase over last year. And under the leadership of City Manager Jonathan Green, here's a look at what's on the horizon. Commonwealth's $10 million 4-story, 53-unit apartment building for low to moderate income individuals and families on the 300 block of West Michigan Ave. A 36,000 square foot new administration building so that the Jackson District Library can centralize its staff downtown and expand its services to the community. A renovated headquarters for Comerica Bank in downtown, and that's just the start. We will be working to attract future developments to our downtown, making sure that we are building up to attract even more residents and activity to our city. City administration, under the leadership of City Manager Jonathan Green, is laying plans for even more housing developments next to the Lofts on Lewis, in the green patch of grass along Louis Glick. We estimate that the site can host another 4 buildings with 250 units and some 450 residents on that site. This is huge. And landing these developments gives us the capacity necessary to attract private capital to secure amenities like a new urban grocery store for downtown. And as we get more businesses and more residents living downtown, we'll work to secure investment in other amenities like downtown charging ports and gas stations. It's part of a comprehensive plan to upgrade our infrastructure and improve the transportation systems across our city. You can see some of that work happening now. We're starting with our main arterial streets. This year, Cooper Street and the overpass will be complete, and work will begin on our other entryway into the city down Elm Street. It'll get the same roundabouts and gateway treatments as Cooper Street. Here's a good one. You'll also see plans laid for construction on the interchange at West Ave and I-94. A projected $78 million new diverging diamond interchange will be constructed to improve traffic flow and modernize and enhance the aesthetics of another entryway to the city. You heard that right, it's not a roundabout, it's a diverging diamond. We've got some roundabouts too. In spring, we'll be completing the traffic circle around Austin Blair Park and continue that redevelopment down the main arterial of Greenwood Street towards Ellis Sharp Park. While Lansing has continued to fail to propose a solution to fixing our roads, we're going to continue to fix them ourselves. Last year, we spent $6.4 million was spent on street construction and engineering projects alone. $1.9 million was spent on water and sewer projects, totaling a total investment of $8.3 million. Our projected street project expenditures this year are $8.6 million. We project some $3.1 million spent on water and sewer projects. In total, we'll be doing $11.7 million in street water and sewer work this year. So get ready for some orange barrels on roads across Jackson. Roads like MLK Drive. Last year, we concluded a 50-year struggle in renaming Francis Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. I stood in front of you and said that it wasn't enough and that we needed to make that street fit for a king. This year, we'll start the process of making good on that promise. MLK Drive will be redone from Wesley all the way down to Morrell. Decorative streetlights will be placed all the way from downtown, down Morrell, and down Adrian Street to the King Center to better connect the downtown to the south side. At the interchange of MLK and Morrell, we'll install a traffic calming roundabout, and we'll charge the Jackson Public Arts Commission with installing a sculpture there that speaks to Dr. King's legacy. Now, Dr. King said, "All labor has dignity." And he was assassinated while joining AFSCME striking sanitation workers. The strike was called following years of poor pay and dangerous working conditions, provoked by racial discrimination and the crushing death of 2 sanitation workers in compactor trucks. Dr. King saw the intersectionality of the civil rights movement with labor rights and organized labor. With the support and land donation of Segway and Consumers Energy, we'll work with the Southeast Michigan Building Trades Council and the Huron Valley Area Labor Federation to incorporate a new public park on MLK, right at Biddle, extending to Cooper. Workers Memorial Park will be a tribute to Dr. King's legacy, to those who organized for better working conditions, and underscore that the fight for economic justice in the workplace and social justice in our communities are inseparable. But we won't stop there. This year, Vice Mayor Robinson and I will put forth a resolution to officially constitute the MLK Corridor Improvement Authority, a legal entity similar to the Downtown Development Authority that, with tax increment financing, will work to improve MLK Drive from downtown all the way to South Street. The authority will plan out the infrastructure investments, development projects, public infrastructure and parks, decorative lighting, street trees and green space, public art, and amenities that are going to help this corridor thrive into perpetuity. To hasten the progress, City Administration's already appropriated funds for a corridor improvement study, and we're working to build a team of those from the community willing to lean in and make this vision a reality. We can and should make sure that this corridor to the south side is no longer neglected. Neither will the city's east side. I'm talking to those who live east of Cooper Street and have seen the construction downtown and on West Michigan Avenue. Hear this, we're coming your way too. This year, we'll partner with the Anchor Initiative on a $130,000 downtown master plan and East Michigan Avenue corridor improvement plan. The DDA boundaries actually extend to Elm, and we intend that our intention and resources reflect that. You'll see plans for streetscaping, parking, developments, and future land use, work on East Michigan Ave with the concrete road, decorative light poles, all the treatments that you see on West Michigan Ave. That's slated for spring of 2021. Get ready. It's another major corridor into our city, and we'll work to connect the downtown to Elm Street into the Loomis Park area. Speaking of parks, we'll have new lighting and new basketball courts going into Loomis Park and new lighting at Exchange Park. This year, as I said, we'll complete the $1.9 million renovation of the King Center and expand its use for folks on the south side. We'll continue to work with Jackson College to bring even more classrooms to the site and explore opportunities with the Center for Family Health on a new health center to expand services in the neighborhood. Right now, we're working to secure funding to completely renovate Optimus Park and bring new playground equipment to Loomis Park. We'll also work with the area animal nonprofits, nonprofit organizations, and the Cascade Humane Society to convert Beech Tree Park into the city's first dog park, with areas for both small dogs and large dogs. So tell Sir Wolf to get ready. And to make our parks even more attractive for families and their young ones, I'll work with council to pass a new smoke-free parks ordinance to improve the beauty of the city's outdoor spaces and ensure even healthier and cleaner experiences for our families. One of the many things our city has going for us is our tremendous parks. When I was first elected, I signed a pledge to ensure that everyone has access to a high-quality park within a 10-minute walk from their home. Working with the Trust for Public Land, we scored all of our neighborhoods in terms of walkability to parks and determined that 91% of our residents live within a 10-minute walk to a park. I'm committed to seeing our community have 100% of the residents within a 10-minute walk to a park and continue to promote Jackson as a walkable city. Imagine walking or riding your bike from Ella Sharp on the new Paca Trail, up 4th Street, up Greenwood to Austin Blair Park, through downtown and down East Michigan Ave, past Loomis Park. Imagine the new wide sidewalk pass up Elm Street and running north on Elm, similar to Cooper. We now have the ability to connect Ella Sharp to the northeast side of the city, an area that, according to our walkability map here, would be well served by park infrastructure. That's why I'm proposing that the city double down on its commitment to great parks and supporting our natural environment by constituting a new nature reserve north of Dwight Bates and Pleasant Streets, expanding across Elm and surrounding Northeast Elementary. The city already owns some 43 vacant acres in this area. Consumers Energy and Jackson Public Schools own some 23 acres, and there's another 100 acres of vacant privately owned land that make up this area of wetlands, mixed oak forests, and wet prairie that rests within the Grand River watershed. Imagine walking on winding paths throughout this area and learning more about our natural environment and the pioneering efforts of the people in Jackson to preserve our natural habitat for wildlife. That's what's possible when we bring the community together to make these projects possible. Look around at our parks and you can already see that service. The Jackson County Daffodil Society has planted more than 100,000 daffodil bulbs at Ella Sharp and the Cascades. The Kiwanis Club of Jackson just rebuilt their playground off of Elm. And look at the Boy Scouts of America, whose Eagle Scouts and service projects enhance the facilities in our parks across our city. That's why I'll be reconstituting the city's Inter-Service Council, a conglomerate of our service clubs, agencies, and organizations aimed at using the collective interest and service work of these individuals to accelerate our city's progress. And it's why we'll partner with United Way to host this entity and to serve as a vehicle by which we can better utilize those who want to serve their city. Jackson is filled with citizens and community partners that are ready to jump in and solve problems. Together, we can work side by side to strengthen our neighborhoods, our city, and the region. Through service, all of us can make our neighborhoods safer, healthier, and more resilient. and better connected. We'll work directly with United Way to launch Serve Jackson, an online tool to connect those in search of those opportunities with ways to support Jackson, to build community response and preparedness, increase citizen engagement, and clean and beautify the community. And we'll have a lot of work to do in the space of, cleaning and beautifying the community. Last year, we restored curbside leaf pickup to keep our streets and storm drains clean from debris and reduce the amount of decaying matter that's entering our waterways. This spring, with the 2 new Vector trucks, we'll continue to clean our streets and parkways with further spring cleaning, and we'll work to find ways to compost this organic material to enrich the soil in neighborhoods across the city. And we'll also work to put forth a solution that modernizes our waste system and builds weekly yard waste collection and recycling into the equation to reduce our impact on the environment, all while improving the services and reducing the costs for our residents. Both of these initiatives will make for cleaner streets and neighborhoods. But we're also pursuing innovative programming to make our neighborhoods safer. We've made good progress in that endeavor with the support of the brave men and women of the Jackson Police Department. Over the past 5 years, the city has seen a 10% decrease in crimes like homicide, rape, assault, robbery, burglary, and theft. In fact, over that period, the city saw a 12% decrease in overall crime and a 6% decrease just from 2018 to 2019. Look at this chart. Hear this. Statistically, 2018 and 2019 were the safest years on record in the last 30 years for crime across the board. That's not my opinion. It is a fact. Pulled from the official compiled Crime 1 Part 1 and Part 2 data from JPD over the last 30 years. But here's the thing. We can continue to build a safer environment, safer neighborhoods here in our city. While we've made some progress on crime overall in the city, no one can ignore the gun violence problem that permeates our community. Just last week, a 14-year-old boy, Cameron Kapritsky, was killed on Orange Street. Last year at the State of the City, I spoke about Ronald Demetrius Owens, the son of a colleague at City Hall. It's important that we continue to recant all of those lost to gun violence, to speak their names, because doing so reminds us that there's still work to be done. No one should ever have to suffer a child's death from gun violence. Gun violence is not a fact of life. It is not a fact of life. Gun violence is a public health crisis. Under the worst conditions, it's infectious and contagious. But thinking of gun violence in that way also makes it treatable. It makes it preventable. While we'll continue to rely on our capable officers to bring murderers to justice, we must also take the steps necessary in our community to further support their investigations and treat the conditions that cultivate that violence. We have to focus on treating the people most likely to engage in gun violence. Last year, we launched and funded Cure Violence, an innovative approach to curbing gun violence, where teams of street-level interrupters will work with city staff to identify and isolate the most violent offenders and work to ensure others are not inflicted with violent thoughts and actions. We'll rally the community to support them, provide them with the tools and opportunities that they need to be successful. In 2019, we also instituted the harm reduction programming that led to the creation of the city's first needle exchange programming. We'll continue to explore ways to support those efforts to reduce the effects of the opiate crisis and addiction within our community and the spillover effect that it has on violence in our neighborhoods. We'll also explore ways to bring more lighting to our neighborhoods and surveillance cameras to those areas hit hardest by gun violence. And while we can employ cameras on buildings, we also know that the best crime prevention investigation comes from eyes on the ground. I truly believe that starts with being more engaged neighbors. When we know one another, when we can look out for one another, we can share mutual interest in protecting one another's property and person. That's why this year I'll introduce the Neighborhood Association Ordinance and work with the City Council members in a robust effort to organize our neighborhoods, to empower them, to give them ownership of some of the solutions that they can employ to fix problems particular to their given neighborhoods, to give them more control and oversight about future developments going on in their area. That takes a tremendous amount of power and authority out of City Hall and hands it over to the citizen leaders in their neighborhoods. We'll work with those leaders to ease restrictions and allow for local initiatives like urban apiaries, urban farming, community gardens. Those ordinances are already written. We'll give residents the tools to stabilize their neighborhoods, increase home ownership, and improve the quality of the housing stock by expanding access to housing rehab loans. Offering rehab loans up to a maximum of $75,000 to owner-occupied properties where applicants meet 80% of area median income in order to fix code violations. We'll also eliminate lead hazards through forgivable loan of 20% of the cost forgiven each year over a 5-year period. We'll use emergency hazard loans to repair emergency hazard systems such as furnaces, electrical, or roofs up to $15,000 in owner-occupied properties where applicants are at or below 50% of area median income. And we'll use up to $20,000 in loans for owner-occupied dwellings to correct exterior code violations as well as interior hazards. The 0% interest rates are designed to make those repairs more easily affordable while bringing properties up to code. These are programs that we'll employ and tailor in collaboration with the newly constituted Poverty Council to keep people in their homes and help low-income families build equity in their neighborhoods. And the Poverty Council highlights the focus of our work going forward. Look, Jackson is leading the way in reducing poverty through the development of new low to moderate income housing developments, proactive policies that combat the criminalization of poverty, and dedicating resources back to traditionally neglected neighborhoods. This Poverty Council will accelerate that progress by enlisting the brightest nonprofit leaders and thinkers in crafting those solutions that will help reduce poverty across our community. And I've already had a number of individuals reach out to me interested in engaging in that effort. And I'm also glad to celebrate John Willis as the city's first ever Chief Equity Officer, our new CEO. That speaks to the heart of the changes that we are planning to make in our community together. Only together can we continue the renaissance that we've started here in Jackson and make sure that that renaissance touches each and every community, each and every neighborhood, each and every person across our city. We can make this a city that builds opportunity for all, each and every one of us. But we can't do it alone. We need you. We see Jackson changing for the better. We've spurred development, new businesses are opening up, and the city is becoming a great place to do business. So do your business here, but make helping Jackson your business too. Volunteer to pick up trash in your own neighborhood, help mentor a kid who needs it, reach out to a neighbor in need, stop by and give Mama Tuta a hug and some money out of your wallet because God knows she will put it to good use. Join Kiwanis, Rotary, Exchange, Lions, or some other service club and tackle some big challenge in our community. Volunteer with Diane Washington's YPOP program, Thomas Burke's Save Our Youth, with Bright Walls, or with the countless other nonprofits or agencies or leaders trying to make positive change in our city and in our neighborhoods. Serve on a city board or commission, or help advise the City Council on the future that we can build together. Building opportunity for all in our city is not something that City Hall, a mayor, or City Council can do alone. We need you. This is your city. Let's do this. On behalf of the City Council and the great staff that we have here at the city, we look forward to working with you as we transform our community together. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Nolan Bushnell, inventor of the Atari video game, which I'm probably telling my age right now, Atari video game, and as well as Chuck E. Cheese pizzas, had a saying, everyone that's ever taken a shower has had a brilliant idea. The people that make a difference are the ones who dry off, or who get out, dry off, and do something. You've heard about what it is we want to do in Jackson. Everyone has an idea of how you can affect that, how you can help that, how you can make our city more inclusive, more diverse, and more equitable. We're asking you now, get out of the shower, dry off, and do something. Have a great evening. Thank you so much for coming out. Everyone drive safe.